Okay, so today we are starting our biology unit, specifically our ecology unit, and we will be discussing sustainability. So what does ecology mean? Ecology has the root word eco, which is from the ancient Greek word oikos, meaning home. And anything with ology at the end means the study of. So ecology is the study of our home, essentially. And what is an ecosystem? An ecosystem are all the interacting abiotic and biotic parts of a biological community and its environment. And what is a sustainable ecosystem? It is an ecosystem that maintains relatively constant biotic and abiotic features forever. And to sustain means to endure and support. All organisms depend on sustainable ecosystems to survive, and some of them require more than one ecosystem. So for example, the ruby-throated hummingbird. It has a very long migratory pattern. And you can see that in this diagram right here. So we see that it can start off up, we're in Ontario, and it ends up down in Florida. This is the tip of Florida throughout the year. So all these ecosystems impact the hummingbird. So what happens when resources are not used in a sustainable way? Well, essentially ecosystems and their surroundings would be destroyed. If we look at, for example, Easter Island, the story of Easter Island. On Easter Island, they built big, massive statues. We don't even know how exactly that happened 100%. But because of this, they used all of their resources to do this. And Easter Island, just in case you didn't know, is right here. It's considered part of Chile. It's off the coast of Chile in the South Pacific Ocean. And there's a little video clip for you to watch in the content of what happened with Easter Island. So because of these statues, they ran out of wood to cook food, build homes, keep warm, and build boats so they could leave the island. So they ended up dying out as a population. So that's what happens if we do not live sustainably. So let's look at some parts of an ecosystem. Every ecosystem has biotic and abiotic parts. And essentially, biotic means living parts of an ecosystem. So those would be, for example, plants and animals, fungi, any microorganisms like bacteria. In order to be living, organisms must meet this criteria. Maybe you've heard of this before: Mrs. Nerg, movement, reproduction, sensitivity, nutrition, excretion, respiration, and growth. So those are important characteristics of living things. Okay? What are abiotic components of an ecosystem? These are things that are non-living. And some examples would be water, oxygen, nutrients, and soil. So we can see that ecosystems are composed of the following. We have individual species, and this little diagram shows us here, which make up populations. And populations, a number of populations make up a community, and a number of community make up an ecosystem. And then ecosystems make up biomes. And then the biomes make up the biosphere, which is all the living organisms on the earth. So that's like a hierarchy of where ecosystems exist. So they are made up of communities, populations, and start out with individuals. So we also want to take a look at interactions of organisms. And these are biotic because they are between living organisms. So we call this symbiosis, this type of interaction. And these are between members of two different species that live together in close association. So this example here is a picture of mushrooms, and they give nutrients to the tree, and the tree gives them a place to reproduce. This is a type of symbiosis. And because both organisms benefit, we call that mutualism. So this is an example right here. This would be mutualism. Another example of mutualism would be a shark and a remora. So in this case, the shark gives protection and a ride, and a remora cleans parasites off the shark. Again, you can see some videos of this in the content. We also have what's called commensalism. And in commensalism, one organism benefits and the other is neither harmed nor benefits. So for example, barnacles on whales is an example of this. The barnacles don't hurt the whales, but the barnacles receive the benefit of eating food that the whales are on the body of the whale. And then we have what's called parasitism. So in parasitism, one organism benefits and the other is harmed. And the best example of this, that probably all of us know, are fleas on a dog. So the flea is a parasite on the dog. It benefits the flea, but it harms the dog. It gives a little mark on its skin, right? It makes it itchy. Another type of biotic interaction is predation. So in predation, one organism feeds off another for food. So the prey is the organism that's eaten, and the predator is the organism that does the eating. So for example, we have red-tailed hawk and a venomous rattler, and that also, you can see that video in the content. Other examples, river otters prey on fish, crabs and frogs, coyotes eat river otters as well. So that's a food chain, and we're going to talk about that pretty soon. And lastly, we have what's called competition. So this happens when you've got two or more organisms that compete for the same resources in the same location at the same time. So one example of this would be dandelions and grass compete for sunlight, water, and nutrients. So you know those dandelions, they tend to overpopulate our grass and take away, well, the beauty of the grass too, but they're competing for sunlight, water, and nutrients. And oftentimes the grass will lose. Weeds tend to win out. So those are some examples of different type of biotic interactions.